So I'm going to just revise today, okay, what we have done, okay. So we start with something called as what is PD, okay. We started what are PDs, different PDs that are used in CFD. PD is used in CFD. And we found that these PDs are having certain different types. Like you will have elliptic PDs, okay. PD. Then you have parabolic, and then hyperbolic PD. Okay. So given a PD, you should be in a position. Given a PD, you should be in a position. Okay. You should be in a position to classify. You should be in a position to classify. Okay. And that classification is based on the B square minus 4AC. That is the criteria we have already, B square minus 4AC. And what are these BAC that has to be identified? So based on this criteria, whether this can be equals to 0 or this can be greater than 0 or less than 0, based on that you will classify any PD into this. So this classification has certain characteristics, you know. So you should know why you need to classify. You need to classify. Okay. So in case of CFD, this classification has a significance. Okay. So that you should know why you should classify. Okay. So you should be in a position to tell if the if the PD is particular elliptic, for example, then what is its characteristics? What are its requirements? Okay. If the PD is parabolic, what are its requirement? That we have seen. And if the PD is hyperbolic, what are its requirements? That we have seen. So classifying them into different gives you different types of behaviors in that. Okay. So that you should know. So once you have gone into this, classifications of PDEs, then we discussed about, like, even these PDs we have discussed about something like linear PDs, non-linear PDs, linear PDs, non-linear. Okay, PD. We have also seen about what do we mean by a problem. Okay. Similarly, that problem can be a linear problem or non-linear problem. So you should be in a position to identify linear versus non-linear PD and linear versus non-linear problem. You should be in a position to know any problem if it is okay. So once we have done this classification and all this, we started with finite difference approximation. Finite difference, the difference approximation for terms like the these terms dt by dx or dt by dy, okay, or it can be dt by d small t time, or it can be second order terms like this, okay, or it could be third order terms like this. Okay, for all these terms you should be in a position to calculate the finite difference expression at particular. So you should be in a position to calculate finite difference expression for this. Okay, for higher order terms, generally we do not come across with more than two. So we should be in a position to do finite difference approximation. So finite difference approximation, we seen that there is a forward difference, and there was a backward difference, and there was a center difference. Okay, you should be in a position to discretize any term. Say for example dt by dx term. You should know what is a forward difference expression for it, what is a backward difference expression for it, what is a central difference expression for it. Okay, and we also know that the this t can be any function. Okay, t is any function. T is a function. T is any function t. T is equals to t is a function of, now in this case it is a function of x. Okay, so it can be any function, any nice function. Okay, it may be given, or which you need to calculate. It may be a solution. Okay, this is essentially a solution where t is a solution. Okay, and okay, so this function is known, then you should be in a position to calculate this dt by dx terms like that. Okay, so out of these three, we have seen something like order of magnitude analysis. Okay, order of accuracy, because these are approximations. So we would like to know what are the order of approximation. Okay, so we found that this is forward difference. Forward difference is like order of delta x, and then backward difference is again also order of delta x, and central difference was also order of delta x square, not also delta x square. So we found that the truncation error, okay, truncation error, in this case truncation error is higher, in this case truncation error is lower. Okay, this is higher and this is lower. Okay, why this is higher and why this is lower? Suppose delta x, any delta x is 0.1. Okay, so this error is of order 0.1. Okay, so 0.1 here also in backward difference also it will be 0.1, but the square of 0.1 it will be 0.01 here. So you see the error in case of central difference is lower. Okay, now in this cases forward difference, backward difference, suppose you have any function and this given like that. Okay, now you are calculating, suppose this derivative dt by dx at any x, that is I, suppose for example that ith location. So in case of backward difference, what it happens is that we are taking the previous point, okay, into picture and the current point, and in case of forward difference we are taking into consideration the forward point and the latest point. So based on this forward point and latest point, you can have a solution. I mean, here it can be here, or this can be at here. Okay, so when you do forward difference, what do you get is the slope at here. Okay, slope at this location. Okay, slope at this location. And when you do backward difference, you get slope at these locations. Okay, slope at these locations. So I'll just draw that. So one is backward difference is like looking like this. Okay, then your forward difference is looking like as shown. Excuse me. Okay, it should go to this point. Okay, and the central difference will go with taking these 2 points. So you have these 2 points into action along with the third point, but essentially it is calculating the slope at this points. Need not this line, white line and blue line should go through this point. Okay, this ith point. It is a slope at this point. Okay. So this is for central difference. This is for forward difference. This is for backward difference, and this is for forward difference. Okay, but the actual slope at this location is actual slope at this location is like this. Okay, so this is the actual solution. Now you see this actual solution has a certain slope. That slope is matched by the central difference scheme very accurately. Okay, slope is matching, but they are not overlapping with each other. The slope is matching with each other. However, BD and CD, their slopes, FD and forward difference and backward difference, their slopes are not matching with the actual solution's slope at that. Okay, so that is the reason CD is much more closer to the actual one rather than BD and FD. So we should know. Other thing is we should know we should know how to find out order of approximation. Okay, so that we should know how to find out order of how to find out how to order of find out order of approximation or truncation error. Okay, or truncation error. For any scheme, given any scheme. Okay, we should be in a position to do this. Okay, once we have done this, what we have done is we have solved something like 1D wave equation. 1D wave equation we have solved. Okay, and for this 1D wave equation we have talked about the stability. Okay, we have talked about the stability. So in order to check the stability of a particular scheme, we have performed von Neumann stability analysis. Neumann stability analysis. Okay. So you should be in a position to do von Neumann stability analysis for any scheme. Okay, that is the must. So any problem comes to you, okay, of any nature, you should be able to do this von Neumann stability analysis for that problem. Okay. So here, along with that, we have seen different types of errors. We have talked about types of errors. Okay, and what is their significance then in terms of your grid independence that we have seen. Okay, and then stability criteria. So stability criteria, so we said that conditionally stable. Okay, such a terms conditionally stable. Okay, or unconditionally stable, unconditionally stable, such a kind of things we have seen. So in conditionally stable, we have gone for some explicit schemes. Okay, explicit scheme, and we have taken some implicit scheme here for unconditionally stable. So in that case, we have taken 1D, one dimensional heat equation, unsteady heat equation that we have seen. So that was like something like this with appropriate boundary condition, any boundary condition. This is small t is equals to alpha del 2x del x with boundary conditions. So boundary conditions can be any, and we have seen how to discretize this equation. We have seen here how to discretize this equation, how to discretize, okay, discretize. So in that, you may be given, or it can be you can choose. Okay, so if it is given, like you use forward in time and backward in space, then use that scheme. Or if it is says that forward in time, central in space, use this. Or some say like backward in time and central in space, use that. Okay, or if you say forward in time and backward forward in space, for example, so accordingly you can use those. You should be in a position to discretize these equations along with boundary conditions, along with boundary conditions boundary conditions. Okay, so once you do this, you are going to get simultaneous equations. So you get simultaneous tenuous equations. Okay, those simultaneous equations, suppose your 1D domain is like this and you have divided your 1D domain into these many grid points, then you will have these many equations. So this is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So you will have 9 equations. Now these 9 simultaneous equations, either they can form in a if it is a okay, if it is a kind of uh, explicit scheme, if it is explicit, then we have to simply keep on calculating. Okay, you have to just simply use the unknown into unknown as a function of known. Okay, so you have to keep on calculating for I is equals to 1 to I is equals to 9, like that. Okay, so it is a straightforward way. But in case of implicit, we seen that they become like a matrix. Okay, ax kind of, this kind of matrix you will get in case of implicit. Okay, implicit schemes. So you should know how to solve such a kind of systems. So like for example a, so ax is equals to b, you should be in a position to solve. So very specialized case of a we have seen in our example. What was the speciality about that? That the speciality about that particular uh, case was this: it has a some sort of banded nature. Okay, so it has a diagonal structure, it has a bottom diagonal structure, and it has a some sort of upper diagonal structure. However, other elements of that were all zeros. There were no values in the other locations. Okay, so it had a very perfect picture. So in those cases we do not store these values, but we do convert this particular matrix into some sort of bidiagonal matrix. Okay, so we get something like, okay, something like bidiagonal. Okay, we get bidiagonal. Here we change these values by using certain formulas. So that was called as TDM algorithm, right? That was called as TDM algorithm. So this particular thing we do with TDMA. With TDMA, we convert this tridiagonal structure. In tridiagonal structure, we do not again consider this zero value, but convert this diagonal structure into bidiagonal structure, where these values are just calculated on the fly using an equation. So no need to store column and rows wise. Okay, no need to store column and row wise the values of this. Use those simply equations for D and X or R and get the values of x1, x2, x3. This x1, x2, x3, these values finally you have to obtain. This is R. Okay, if I am writing R here, or you can write x is equal to B. Okay, so we use this TDMA algorithm for this very specialized case where we could able to solve this Ax is equals to B or Ax is equals to R. Okay, so you should know this TDMA. This TDMA algorithm is very popular and in every CFD book. So remember, you should know. Okay, should know. It is expected that you should know. You should be in a position, you are given with a matrix, then you should be in a position to use TDMA to get the values of x1, x2, x3, whatever. It's a solution variable. So you should get solution using this TDMA algorithm. Okay. So that is what the whole structure we had. And then even in that, we were talking about this conditionally stable, unconditionally stable, these schemes. Okay, so I can write like a 9th point. So when you have this stability limits, okay, so stability limits has to be put in. So in case of the 1D wave equation, we came to know that you have that A delta t by delta x should be less than equal to 1. That was the criteria. And then we have alpha delta t delta x square should be less than equal to half. That was one other criteria. So based on that, if you choose certain delta t, delta x can be chosen, and then you can calculate if you choose delta t, you can calculate delta x. So fixing one, you can get those other values. So knowing these are scheme dependent. Okay, this was used for a 1D wave equation, and you had that a particular scheme. For that particular scheme only you got this condition. Okay, for other scheme you may not find that there is any condition. Okay, so finding that condition, whether there is a condition or not, that is a process of von Neumann stability analysis. Okay, for Neumann stability analysis, and this is very important. Whenever you are doing any simulation, you should do this von Neumann stability analysis in order to get some insight into the delta t delta x values. Okay, but point to be noted, which I already told in my lecture, that von Neumann stability analysis have a certain limitations. One of the limitations is it is applicable for linear problems. Okay, linear problems, not even problems, linear, not even problems. There is no without boundary condition. Okay, so it is not a problem at all without boundary condition. So without boundary condition means infinite domain. Infinite domain. Okay, so they haven't considered the stability or instability which is coming due to boundary conditions, linear problems. Okay, so these are certain limitations which essentially but the von Neumann stability analysis is the one of the most widely used stability analysis in order to get the insights, okay, to get the insights into the values of delta t, delta x, okay. So to get stability, okay. So if you ensure this, if you ensure that your schemes are better, then you are and stable, then you are likely to get convergence. That is a thing, okay. Convergence means whether you can get a solution or not, okay. So I can just write whether you can get converged solution, okay. Any particular, suppose you run that system and you want to get x1, x2, x3, whether you will get x1, x2, x3 or not, that that depends upon the your error in the system. So consistency, you have that consistency. So whether consistency means whatever you have discretized, suppose you have discretized for del t, del x, like t I plus 1 minus t I minus 1 and twice delta x. So whether this discretization is consistent or not. Consistent means whenever you whatever the here order of terms here, whenever you make that term delta x tends to 0, whether it is going to give you the actual PD solution or not. So if it is like that, if it is saying that whenever delta x is 0, it is going to give you this expression, then it is a consistent scheme. Okay. So you should have a consistent scheme. Okay. And you should have sufficient condition, that stability. Okay. It should be stable. So if it is there, then you can get a converse solution. Okay, getting converse solution is a major task. Otherwise, you will run the system, but you will not get any converse solution, and then you will end up to not a number kind of nan. Okay, so that should not happen. So unstable scheme will always increase the amplitude. Stable scheme will keep the amplitude down or constant, okay, and it will not affect the solution. Consistent scheme is there, it will not give you truncation error, also it will not land up into some sort of round of errors, and you will get, so no minimum truncation error, round of error, and stability ensures the convergence. Okay, it ensures that your CFD code. Okay, also I have given one how to write a code. Okay, but in exam I'm not going to ask you any computer programming code. Okay, so our task is not more on programming. Programming is a skill that you already earned and learned in your other classes. So that is, but I have just showed you how to convert any algorithm. Okay, algorithm algorithm or pseudocode. Okay, pseudocode, PSEUDO. Okay, U. This is U. Pseudocode. Okay, algorithm or pseudocode into a program. Okay, so you know the difference between this. Algorithm is some sort of sequence. Program is a some sort of algorithm kind of sequential set of instructions. Okay, so sequential set of instruction. So that is nothing but instructions. Okay. So algorithm or pseudocode is a sequential set of instruction. Our program is also a sequential set of instruction written in a particular that language. Set of instructions written in written in a particular language. particular language known to computer, particular language understandable by or known to computer. Okay, this algorithm or pseudocode, they are independent of the code, independent of the programming language, independent of the programming language. Okay, so you will give a certain instruction like you have to loop here, you have to find values repeatedly. Okay, you have to obtain the convergence till you get those values. So it will have just instructions, first instruction, second instruction, like that. Initialize, calculate the interior points, then boundary updation, then it will say that check the criteria. If the criteria doesn't match, then again go 2 3 4. If criteria matches, print the values. Like that, some instructions will be there. But in particular program, you will have to write those into particular fashion, which is that particular to the language. So we have seen that in case of C program, we seen to write how to declare the variables, then how to put a condition loop. So those condition loops and other things are programming language specific. Okay, so you'll have to use those syntax and write a program. Okay, so you'll have to write in a particular syntax of that language and now run the code. Okay, so this part is a skill which is already is there, but algorithm should be known. Okay, how to calculate a generalized procedure should be known, that what should be done in order to solve this particular problem. So that should be known. Okay, so what should be done like that? So once any person understand this pseudocode or algorithm, he is likely able to write a correct code. Okay, provided he or she knows the programming language. Okay, if you do not know these steps correctly, you are going to convert these steps wrongly in a program, and your program will not run and it will not give you any solution. Okay, so there will be something like bug. You must have heard this word bug. So there will be a bug. So either that bug may be due to syntax error or maybe your logic error. It can be a syntax or then it can be logic. So if you don't understand here whatever the logic put in, that in which sequences you are calculating, if you interchange the sequences also it will affect the program. So which things to be calculated first, which things should not be calculated first, that you have to understand from this, and you have to map this information, this algorithm or pseudocode into a proper code. Okay, so that is something, a skill that we have to earn and learn by doing on your own. Okay, what I can do best is I can show you how to convert one algorithm into program. So that already I have done. Now you should do for your certain cases and try to write your own code. You will suffer in between. Okay, but at the end of the day, once you write a proper code, you will understand much more betterly this algorithm. Okay, so unless you write programs and run, it is very difficult to say that you understood this pseudocode or algorithm. It will most likely happen that you will keep on remembering or mugging these algorithms. But unless you do programming, you will not get that feel of understanding. Okay. But however, you are not going to ask any question on programming, but algorithms, you might have to be careful about the algorithms. Okay, I don't want any programming any language, but I maybe ask you to give me algorithm to solve any problem. Okay, now there was something about explicit and implicit, so you don't have to get into a confusion that explicit means or implicit means always there should be a time involved in it. Okay, so already in the last lecture also I have told you that say for example we have taken one example. We have taken one example. Say we have this equation. Okay, so del 2t del x square. Now just simply this equation with some boundary condition plus boundary conditions. So if this is the equation, then if you want to convert this equation into some finite difference, so we always do this conversion at certain point. Okay, grid point. So that is, so first we take the grid point. Okay, now in the top of that we used to write n or n plus 1. Now here there is no time derivative. Okay, so we don't have to say n or n plus 1. Okay, there is no opportunity to say like this. Okay, there is no opportunity to say like this. So n means known and n plus min means unknown. Okay, unknown at that time level, known at that, so previous time level values and current time level. Now here is this I means current. Okay, in previous cases also I means current, but if it is I respect to n means every all i's were known. Okay, if I n plus 1 means all i's are new level values means unknown values. But here we are with no time. Okay, so we are not moving in time, but we are moving in simply in space, and in space ith value is a, so suppose you are in this space, suppose this is a bar, and you have converted this domain into all discrete points, and you have generated a grid, for example, then in that case we are talking about this is any I, this can also be I, this can, so any I, so this I means unknown. Okay, this is the value we are calculating, so this is unknown. Yeah, whatever behind it, that will be known values. Okay, so this is an unknown value and these are the known values from which we are going to get this value. But suppose in this discretization you used a central difference, then you will get something like I minus 1 twice ti plus ti plus 1 Abhishek. Okay, ti plus 1 divided by delta x square. Abhishek, switch off
Yes, sir.
your mic.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So here you see this ti is unknown. Okay, this is unknown, this is known. Okay, this one is also unknown. Okay, so this acts like a implicit. Okay, what does it mean? Implicit means you have to solve simultaneously for all the equations. Okay, so you will get a some sort of matrix. That is what I mean to say. So simultaneously it means that it is a implicit. Okay, implicit, and implicit means you have to solve simultaneously, solve simultaneous this equation. This is the one equation, suppose this is the equation 1, this equation you will have to solve simultaneously for all i's, solve simultaneously for for all i's. I means interior points, interior points. For these all interior points you will have to solve simultaneously. So simultaneously means you will have to get some sort of matrix kind of. So you will get certain like this simultaneous equations you could be able to write in a matrix form. Okay, so that you have to understand. Okay, you don't have to wait for there is a term like del t, and then only you will get implicit and like that. Okay, so you understand this basic nature. Suppose you have this one and alpha is 1, for example, and del square t and del x square. Now here you got that, like, okay, because here is a n, so you will have to talk about nth level. Okay, if you are making n plus all unknown, then okay, this is a known. All unknown means it is a simultaneous implicit. You only one unknown and all known, means it is explicit. No need to solve simultaneously all for all I. You won't get like this equation, and you don't need TDMA or any Gauss-Seidel, Gauss elimination, or any direct or iterative methods. Okay, you don't need any direct or iterative methods for solving these equations. Okay, that is the thing. So you should understand that, and whenever we calculate, it is calculated at particular discrete point. Okay, that you should know, and you should be able to consistently do. So suppose you have this I, suppose t del 2 t del x square plus I, then you in equation you have ti here. Okay, this ti minus 1 twice ti plus ti plus 1 delta x square plus ti has to be an equation if there is, because we are calculating this t at I. So that modification, so you should know the basic, okay, conceptualization. If you know this conceptualization, you will be in a position to solve a similar kind of problems. Okay. Yeah, so that is from my side. If anybody is having any question or anything, okay, they can try to ask. We have, I think, yeah, we have some minutes. 10. We have 10 minutes, and if anybody wants to ask, they may ask.
Sir, regarding the project report, the whole group can submit one report, right?
Uh, what I would suggest is that you do it independently. Because the first part, grid generation part. So there are two parts in the project. One part is the grid generation. Okay. So grid generation need not be a group work. That grid generation need not to be a group work. And second part is any one problem. Okay. So one problem is given in that link that has to be solved. But see, what I expect is that everybody should go through it. Okay. Actually, this assignment was meant for individual, but since our group size is very large, I think we have 118 students. I have to discuss about this also. So giving independent one student problem is long term activity. So I try to give grid generation part as a discrete part, and this. So I would suggest that every student should do independently and show their work. Okay, even though you are doing group work, it is expected that you do your part. I mean, part in the sense you understand complete part, how the process is. Otherwise, if the group is doing, one student is doing and other are not doing, then ultimately you will not learn ANSYS. See, this assignment, my purpose in this assignment is to make you aware about, make you learn, okay, make you learn fluent. Okay, so that was ANSYS or ANSYS or fluent, you can say both, ANSYS fluent. So that was the purpose, so that you learn on your own how to generate a grid, and once you generate a grid, how to solve that problem using fluent. That was the whole idea. And if you go through these tutorials, 1 2, you will get an idea that how a problem is generated, how the problem is solved in a ANSYS fluent. That was the whole idea. So my ultimate objective is that every student should have that ability to run ANSYS fluent. Okay, so I would request that every student give me
Sir,
independent project report. Okay. Okay, so every student will give me independent project
sir,
report.
so
Yeah.
okay. So both the parts we should, like, we were given part A, part B, and part C, right? So all the three parts we should include in the report,
Yeah,
or only the last one?
I think I have given you a content page in that. If you see the sample report, in that content page, the section 1, section 2, section 3 were like that. Na section 1 and section in within that section 1 itself, it is, I think, grid generation was a title, like that. So you make your report which is consistent and including all the things. But there was option given in grid generation. You can generate either grid by using Workbench or ICM CFD. So anybody must have done with ICM CFD, okay, or somebody must have done with Workbench, okay. So anyone you show, and there was one tutorial, so that tutorial should have been shown in the first section. So that is a part of one section, and then second section should be on the what are the problems. So that problem definition should be there. Suppose somebody is doing backward facing step problem, then he will mention what is the problem statement, then figure of that problem, boundary conditions, okay, then governing equations, governing equations, boundary conditions, then methodology. How do you solve? Methodology means how the process is, I mean, how it is solved. So to solve certain, you might have used certain schemes like central difference, finite difference, or pressure, piezo, or like that, some, or simple algorithm. Some terms may be there, so you just figure it out and try to write. You may not be perfect here, some, but you will get and practice. So methodology, and then what are the solutions you got. So here you can say results and discussions. So results and discussions, so whatever results you got, try to comment on that, okay, just give your comment, and then conclusion, okay. So I just want you to go through this process. This is a standard process in every CFD simulation is followed. If you are doing any CFD work anywhere, maybe in your BTech project or in your industry, you have to go through these steps only. Okay. So at least I want to make sure that through this assignment you learn how to generate grid, how to solve, and how to give, or how to represent your solution in terms of a report. And then second assignment will be based on this only, where I will give you one published paper, okay, one PDF I will give, PDF on any problem. There you will some journal paper, some journal paper. That journal paper will be given, and in that again, I think that I'll make it as a group, because 118 student to give those many problem is a very, again, cumbersome activity. So if it is, so I was thinking to give independently, and I was trying to ask you to do, I mean, you to figure out this PDF or journal paper, but I ultimately came to, I mean, I felt that maybe it is a not good idea, because you may not be knowing which paper to pick up, and then we might waste our time. So I'll make a group, and then you will solve this problem independently, where you have to think now then how my grid should be, how I should make a computational domain, and then what should be my variable. So you will little bit struggle. So level here, in this assignment 2, the level of difficulty is little more than the assignment number 1. But if you have done assignment number 1 properly, then you will be able to succeed in this level 2. Okay. And then third aspect we have put it here is the presentation. Okay. Along with the project report, you will make a PPT presentation. Okay. So this is a final step. Anywhere, whenever you got the result, you have to produce not only the project report, but also show the present your work in front of people for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, like that. So this is a whole set I wanted you to get out of this CFD course in a practical term, and in a theoretical terms, I'll be giving you what is there inside ANSYS Fluent. So this is everything what I'm talking here, that is there in the inside of the ANSYS Fluent. Programming, even that part is already there. You don't have to do any program, but how it look like, how they are inside, that is I'm trying to. Okay, now about this 118 student, today I tried to check DSS. Okay, and I don't come up with 118 number. I don't know. So please check with your with FA and your or coordinator and check whether you are registered there. I don't know how many students now are registered actually. I was looking at some attendance and I got 1118. Some students were absent, but please check with your FA and ask them to update, because now exam is coming. So I'll have to put the marks there. So your name should appear there. Otherwise, it will be a mess up. So please check this so that ensure that you are there in that particular course. Huh? Because later on, should not there should not be any discrepancies in that.
Sir, I have a doubt.
Yeah, Ashish.
Uh,
Okay. No.
the first grid generation,
And
the PDF was provided to us. Like me, our group, no one is, we don't have prior experience with answers, and we started from scratch. The first PDF, it was very detailed, like step by step instructions were provided. So somehow I was able to complete the question. But sir, the
okay.
second question, uh, it is an answers link, and the steps are not provided. Actually, the steps are given as to download some files. So I'm not
No,
at all able
so
to do it.
when they are asking you to, and again, so for that also I have given some other links. Okay, so these links actually these are given like supporting materials. So don't assume that you have to work for that links only. Okay, so these links sometimes on internet, these links they may remove also. Okay, so what I sent you yesterday they may remove. So these are supporting documents, and similar documents you can get from internet. And if they are asking you to download certain files, means suppose you are so this second problem here, so it is based on that this bent pipe problem only. Okay, so this was the problem, and here was a inlet, here was a outlet, and one small inlet was there, so two inlet problem. Okay, so if you generate this grid here itself, the same grid you have to use here, and they are asking you to download this grid only. So sometimes when they give a tutorial, they don't give tutorial for this one to generate some other problems, you know and they will say that ki you download this grid and start third, fourth, fifth, fifth process. They will exclude this grid generation process when they ask. But essentially, in your case, if you generated this grid, same grid you should use. No need to download. Use this same grid, use their procedure, and go ahead. Suppose here the procedure is given for 3D, for example. What is difference between 3D and 2D? You have to choose that option. In the ANSYS Fluent, you have to say whether you are going to solve 2D or 3D. That's it. Even if the document say 3D and your grid is 2D, then you have to choose 2D only, and accordingly you make changes. Okay, so
Yes.
that much level of thinking you will have to put in. It cannot be like very straightforward, because if things are straightforward, see, first thing first is to get to know, it should be very straightforward. Okay, but it should not be blindly done. Now you should suppose I ask you to generate a grid for this rectangle, for example, then you should be in a position to generate. Need not to look like, okay, oh, I don't know now what is the step by step procedure to do this. But now you should have come to know how to generate a grid. It means that you have to first create these these things with points. You have to make lines, and from lines then you have to make surfaces, like that. Okay, and then in ICM-CFD you have to create a topology. Topology means a similar kind of a structure, so that topology will be created. Okay, and that topology has to have a connection. So this edge of that topology has to be connected with the corresponding edge. If you connect this topology with this edge, it is going to become wrong. Okay, so that association has to be taken care of in ICM-CFD. So once you associate means they will get overlap on each other. So they will become overlapped on each other. So once they are overlap on each other, that within that topology itself, then grid will be generated. Then you have to say, well, how many points you need in X. So choose the edge, give the number of points, choose the Y edge, give the number of points, then it will generate automatically a grid. You save this grid in a particular form, extension which is suitable for simulations. So it is a fluent kind of simulations. You will have to save in a particular format, and then once you open it here, you have to open this grid, okay, in a CFD, and then once you open that, you have to apply. You have to see what boundary names were given, what boundary names were given. Accordingly, you give the boundary conditions, like that. You domain properties you assign. So go step by step, and once domain properties and everything is done, then there is a solve option. Click on that. You will get a residuals, and residual false at certain point. Then you will be able to see the results there, contours or vector plots or like that. Okay, so what I'm saying is that sometimes you may not get exactly the same thing. Okay, if you are not getting, try to download a similar kind of PDFs which are available. Okay, there are many resources are there. They give the this basic. This is a basic problem. The Fluent gives how to generate a grid for this, and how to solve this problem. That is what they are doing. So once you understand how to generate topology and everything like that, and how to solve a simple problem, then you can. So this is again a same activity here. For this particular problem, then maybe there is no grid available, or maybe you can get those grids from internet. Okay, but it is better you generate your own grid and apply here, and then get. You may not get exactly the solution which are given there. Okay, that is not a problem. I am okay with that. Okay, anything you did and then you are not getting exactly match with anything, that is also still okay to me, but you should go through it. Okay, so I cannot, I mean, sorry to say, I cannot give you exactly the same thing. Okay, so there may be some variation. Okay, not exactly one to one, but you can always look into Google and get those files. Okay, there are many other people, they show how to solve the problem. Maybe YouTube also, on YouTube also you will get lot of videos to solve this problem. Okay, so just you will have to.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, Ganapati.
Uh, actually, the problem given to our group, it's been solved in ANSYS Gambit, but like I solved it in Workbench, so it's fine, no?
Yeah, no problem. See, this Gambit is now old term. Okay,
Okay.
Gambit is essentially a grid generator. Okay, this is a grid generator where you generate simply a grid. Now this Gambit was a product with Fluent. Okay, this Fluent was independent, and ANSYS was independent. So ANSYS used to do only this CFX simulations. Okay,
Okay.
these were their product, CFX, and then this machine, solid mechanics kind of problems. Fluent was independent. It was independent for flow solver along with CFX. But then this ANSYS captured this. Okay, so CFX plus Fluent came into picture. So once they brought in, they did not keep Gambit. So ANSYS already had this ICM CFD. Okay, so they brought this ICM CFD and put in here. And Workbench is again nothing but similar kind of philosophy. So they just put in order to maybe generated here and both for CFX, like that. So no problem. Okay, any grid you generate, it is usable by this ANSYS Fluent. Anywhere you
Also,
generate. Hmm.
sir, the problem definition that is given in the contents table, right? That is in that we have to define the problem given to our group.
Yes, you have to define the problem. Okay, so there
Okay.
will be some
The
tasks,
problem
right?
given to the group, right? That is in
Yes.
part C.
Yeah, part C. Problem given
Okay.
to the group.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah. And for that problem only, you have to give result and discussion like that. There you have
Got
to
it.
say something. Yeah. Why the velocities are changing. Some conclusion. Okay. So please check this number of students. I'm just worried about 118, and our exam is on 20th. Okay, and that will be, I think, it's 2 to 6, right? I'm sorry. I mean, I just no. I'll have to check the timing. Okay. So what is the timing? Our timing is on 20th. Is what's the timing? Okay, 2 to 4. Okay, so it's a 2 hour. So, okay, so I think everybody is fine with this. I just got one complaint from one student that he is having some entrance test. Okay, so I don't know how this change will be, because one change will make a lot of changes, because we have 8th semester student as well as we have 6th semester students. So, but if he checks and things are fine, you just decide, uh, or then you'll have to drop that idea of giving this entrance. Okay, so let me know if there is, so as soon as possible, because from tomorrow exam is starting. So I think 20th is fine, because I did not get anything after that. Okay, there should not be any issue with that, right? Okay, so all the best to you. Huh? Okay then.
Sir,
Huh.
we are ready to do the second we want to do the second problem, sir, but as beginners, we are facing a lot of difficulty right now, and we just have
Yeah,
like
so
the
that is,
tomorrow.
yeah, I
We just
understand that. So that is the reason you should have started little early. So that is the thing. You can't do the things. You know, yeah. So what do you want from me?
So like we are at a drawback because if we were at campus, we could have asked from our friends who know answers. But right now, I have no idea with answers, and I did the first question from the PDF which was given. But now the second question is like I'm completely blank for it. I can't start from anywhere. I don't know where to start from, and now I don't have
No,
time even
even
for it.
in the second problem also, those links are given. They also give some steps. Okay, and since
Steps
you
are
have
vague,
a,
sir. Kind of
yeah, but you
because
have a group. It is not like you are independent. So that is the reason of giving a group also, because there will be problems. So you can divide your problem and ask other to do Google search, and come up with that. And this struggle will make you much more learn than you'll get some documents there.
so day after tomorrow we have like two tests, and then
I
tomorrow
can
we'll have to
increase.
study
I
for
can
them.
see. What I can do is I can increase the date of submission. No problem with me.
Yes, so that would be a lot very helpful to us.
Yeah, my idea is you make sure that you learn. Okay, so I can
Yes,
extend
sir.
that. I don't have any problem with that.
Right now we
I,
are having the time constraint. We have to study to for the test one.
yeah. So what is the date you suggest to me? Because
Hmm.
give me a reasonable date, so that our assignment number 2 also should be done properly.
Uh, Sir, 22nd, the Monday after the test finishes.
Okay.
This week is entire week is for tests.
Okay. So I'm just noting 22nd. Okay. Okay then. All the best. See you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Welcome.